Okay, okay. I need everybody to stop what they're doing right now. Pause the music, put the phone down, look at the screen, because we have a lot to unpack today, and I am not playing with any of you. We've got 50 Cent out here basically confirming there are more tapes. More, as in plural. As in what you've seen so far, that's just the appetizer. The main course hasn't even left the kitchen yet. Then, as if that wasn't enough, Christina Karam, Diddy's longtime personal assistant, the woman that the judge named in open court as a co-conspirator, she decided today was a good day to open her mouth and release a statement. Sis, nobody was looking for you. You were not on our radar, and then you walked right into the spotlight on your own. Okay then, let's talk about it. Stay with me because this one is packed. Let's get into it. Part 1. Who is Christina Karam and why is she speaking now? For anyone who's been living under a rock, Christina Karam was Diddy's personal assistant for years, and I mean personal. She was in the building, she was at the events, she was on the phone calls, she was sitting outside his Miami home, comforting him even after Cassie's lawsuit dropped. Like she didn't even flinch. She stayed loyal when most normal people would have ran 100 miles in the opposite direction. Now there's a lawsuit from an accuser who goes by the name Philip Pines. Philip says he worked for Diddy between 2019 and 2021, and his job, his actual assigned role, was setting up the hotel rooms for Diddy's so-called freak-offs. That meant going in, setting up the red lights, making sure there was baby oil, making sure there were towels, and then cleaning up afterwards. That was his job description. Let that sink in for a second. But here's where it gets really serious. Philip isn't just suing over the environment he was put in. He's claiming that Diddy and Christina Karam together forced him to be intimate with a woman against his will while Diddy watched. He's suing for sexual battery, harassment, and trafficking. Now, Christina has come out and she's basically said, this is all nonsense. Throw it out. There's no proof I did anything wrong. The most you can say is I told him not to talk about an incident. That's her defense. That's the whole thing. And I'll be honest, on paper, some of the motions she filed, they've actually worked in her favor so far. She's not in criminal trouble right now. The 2028 civil trial is still on the calendar, but she's managed to get some things dismissed. So why is she panicking? Because of what happened at Diddy's sentencing. The judge, not a blogger, not a YouTuber, the social media, the actual judge in the room, looked out and named Christina Karam as one of Diddy's co-conspirators. He gave 3 names. She was one of them. Judges don't do that for sport. Judges don't throw random names into sentencing remarks because they feel like it. If that name came out of his mouth in that courtroom, it's because there is something there, and she knows it. That's why she's putting out a statement. That's why she's scared. She saw the Diddy tape footage go viral. She saw the whole world locked back into this story, and she thought now is my moment to get ahead of this, because if I speak now, maybe people will hear my side. But beloved, nobody was looking for your side. The judge already gave us your side, and his words carry a little more weight than your press release. Part 2. The Philip Pines lawsuit. Why this matters. No, I want to spend a minute on this lawsuit because I think people are sleeping on how serious this actually is. Philip Pines isn't some random person who glanced at Diddy from across a room and decided to sue. This man was an employee. He was inside the operation. He knows exactly what the setup looked like because he was the one setting it up. You don't sue someone this specifically. You don't name individual acts. You don't name specific people. You don't give dates and job descriptions if you're just manufacturing it out of nowhere. That level of detail is not something you manufacture out of nowhere. And he's not the only one. That's the thing people need to understand. There are dozens of civil lawsuits at this point, multiple accusers, multiple accounts, and a huge number of them named Christina Karam specifically, not just Diddy, her. Now, I'm not the judge, I'm not the jury, but I'm also not going to sit here and tell you I believe one person over 30. I don't. I believe the 30. The thing about civil cases is they move differently to criminal ones. A civil trial in 2028 gives everyone time. Time for more evidence to surface, time for more accusers to come forward, time for something that starts as a civil case to get handed off to prosecutors. It happens. We've seen it happen. And with a judge already putting her name on record at sentencing, the clock is ticking. Part 3. 50 Cent breaks his silence on the tapes. Okay, let's talk about 50 Cent because this is where it gets genuinely wild. 50 finally addressed the tape situation with Daphne, the mother of his son, and what he said was a lot. He basically confirmed that what we've seen is not the whole picture. He said there are many tapes out there, many. This one just happened to be the one that went public because, in his words, it involves his son's mother, so it feels special. But the implication is clear. There's more footage, more situations, and more is coming. And on Daphne specifically, he's not holding back. He's not seeing her as a victim. He's pointing to her running to OnlyFans with an 85% discount after everything happened, and he's using that as evidence that she wasn't a helpless bystander in all of this. Now, here's where I have to be real with you, because I actually disagree with 50 on this one, and I don't say that lightly. Look, I'm not a Daphne fan. I'll put that on the table right now. The way she's handled this whole situation has not made me sympathetic towards her. The OnlyFans move, not a great look if you're trying to present yourself as someone who was violated and traumatized. I understand why people are rolling their eyes. But here is the thing that keeps getting lost in this conversation. There is no such thing as a perfect victim. Victims can be unlikable. Victims can make bad decisions after the fact. Victims can be people you don't respect, people you find annoying, people you think are opportunistic. None of that changes whether something was done to them without their consent. And Daphne has said publicly that she did not consent to that footage being released. If that's true, then by definition, she's a victim of that. Full stop. You can hate everything else about her, and that statement is still true. But here's the part that's really getting me. 50 and Daphne share a child, a minor, a kid who is currently going to school, probably dealing with more than we can imagine, and watching his father go on camera and publicly drag his mother and call her a non-victim, and reference her OnlyFans. Those kids at school, they're going to bring that up every single day, and 50 already said himself that his son is a victim here. So why, if you believe your child is a victim, are you making his situation worse by adding more fuel to the fire publicly? Handle that in private. What you say on camera about the mother of your child becomes a weapon used against your kid. Think about that. Part 4. More tapes are coming. Here's why it matters. Now, let's zoom out for a second, because 50 confirming that there are more tapes is genuinely significant. Think about the Cassie situation. We already know from her lawsuit what she alleged. We haven't seen those tapes publicly yet, but based on what 50 is saying and based on what's been referenced in court documents, they exist, and at some point, they're going to surface. When that happens, the conversation around Diddy is going to shift into an entirely different gear. What we're dealing with right now is going to look small by comparison, and that's going to drag more names back into the spotlight, more associates, more people who were in the building, who knew what was happening, who maybe said nothing, or worse, participated. Which brings us back to Christina Karam. Right now, her statement is getting attention because the timing is so obviously calculated. She wanted to get her version into the news cycle while the world is already looking at Diddy. She thought she could use the noise to her advantage. But every time new footage surfaces, every time a new accuser goes public with details, her name is going to come back up. The judge already said it, the lawsuits already name her, and a 2028 trial is a long way away. A lot can happen between now and then. So here's where I land on all of this. Christina Karam releasing a statement right now was a mistake, not because it's going to get her in more legal trouble necessarily. Her lawyers clearly looked at it. But because it reminds everyone that she exists, it reminds everyone that a judge named her, and it reminds everyone that there's a trial coming. You don't get to PR your way out of what was said in that courtroom. 50 Cent is entitled to feel however he feels about Daphne. That's his business. But saying it publicly on camera is making life harder for a child who didn't ask to be in any of this. Think about the kid first. Everything else is secondary. And as for the tapes, if 50's right that there are many more, we haven't seen anything yet. The real wave is still building. As always, I want to know what you think. Drop it in the comments. Do you think Christina Karam is going to face real consequences? Do you think Daphne is a victim? And are you ready for what comes next? Because based on everything we're hearing, more is coming. Like the video, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay locked in. This story is far from over.